They're talking about an end point. Where do you hope to be? What do you hope to do? And they're all action words that you need to take. You can't just say, well, I hope for this, and then sit back and do nothing.
So there's different wealths and different values of how we're spending it. Are we investing it or are we spending it? In the room, 52 Jokers Wild.
In our early discussions, we started to think about hope. So we're going to call this the hope thingy. I've just discovered something. It says, what is the meaning of hope? And it says, hope is something that you want to happen, like your hope to visit Paris this summer, which isn't likely because it's gone. And not only that,
wishful thinking, isn't
it? Or a feeling that good things will come. And hope can also be a verb that means strive for a wish, or strive for or wish, as you hope to become a doctor someday, or you hope to get your degree someday, and all those kind of things. So those, I think are we hoping in what we're actually doing? Maybe that's the question that we need to ask at this particular point in time. What do you think, Garvin?
Well, you just threw a few words. Hoping, wishing, dreaming. They're all aiming for something in the future that isn't it now. Because we're saying if we're hoping for it, maybe we're hoping for it to stay the same. We're hoping for the weather to hold out. So maybe that's not quite true what I said. It's this wish for things to stay the same or change, and become or stay as is or become something else. But it's we're hoping. We want it, and we want it to stay the same, or we want it to change, or we want to do something else. But we hope and want something else to have an action, or ourselves to have an action to lead to that state. And so it's a state, maybe it's a state. The hope has a state value. Actually, when you think of business, they go, the hope value of a business is the future goodwill value, the brand value of the customer staying and the customer base growing. So the reason someone's paying you extra or for the goodwill of your business, if you were selling it, was they're buying the hope value of not what is currently doing and the state it's in. Actually, most of the tech companies in the past were going, in the tech boom, we were going, they'd no customers, they'd no revenues, they'd no profitability, and they were worth billions. And what was this worth? It was the hope worth of when you got there and you got that customer base and you delivered that disruption and that great product, that those customers will be paying you this profitable money, and you'd have all this value and money, which is the hope value of if you keep on doing what you're doing, it will lead to this value. And if you keep on doing that value will stay or increase. So we actually have a hope value in the podcasts we're doing, in the branding we're doing, or the little snippets or promos we're doing. We're hoping someone will see it. We're hoping someone will enjoy it. And we're hoping it'll be a good feeling and they will share our testimonial or affirm that this is worth something. It has a value. So we're hope value is what it says to me.
Yeah. Now, there's another one that says here, why is hope so important? And to have hope is to want an outcome that makes your life better in some way, which is what you've been discussing. It's not only can help make a tough present situation more bearable, but also can eventually improve our lives, because envisioning a better future motivates you to take some steps, to take some action to make it happen. And I think that's the important thing, is that in the hope, it's not something you just hope for and then do nothing about. It's actually something where by hoping, you then start to work out, well, if I know what I hope for in the end, I can now work towards it to make it happen. So it's not just a dream, it's a reality. I think that becomes an important part of why we have to have some form of hope. And again, it's like, you hope that life will be better in the future than it currently is. You hope your children will have a better life than maybe you had the opportunities for. Or you hope that by making and creating opportunities for yourself, that you can improve not only your outcome, but your wife and your family's outcome. I think that's an important aspect that we need to be considering as well. So over to you, Garvin.
Now, an awful lot of people back to the dream of winning the lottery. And now, are you hoping to win the lottery? Because you can dream to win the lottery, and you can dream of what you do with that money, and whether you act in a philanthropic capacity and give it to your family and friends and help out in charities. But great affirmations of what you do with that dream if you won it. Unless you bought the million tickets in a million ticket raffle, there's only a hope. You can hope to win it, but someone else might instead, or you might share it. But the one thing I do keep on saying, as one of my throwaway sayings, is you have to be in it to win it. You have to buy a ticket to have that chance. You can hope all you like, but you can dream of it actually happening, but you better not hope it happens and you're depending on it, because that probability and statistic and permutation and combination is no hope and Bob hope. It's got less hope. That's not what you should be doing. And you can't work to make it happen. Well, you can work to make it happen by working a different job and getting your 20 grand and buying 20,000 tickets. And you have a better chance and some hope and a better hope of winning. But still, it's not a guarantee. So there's this language of dream and action and hoping and wishing, which is all mixed together in a cauldron. But as you said, to make the difference, to increase the tangibility of a particular end result, you've got to take away the hope part of it by building in the better statistical part of increasing your chances by doing actions and tasks and activities that will have a better chance of leading to that end and getting some good hope and that value hope we're talking about.
I think, the interesting thing is that the hope needs to be there. We don't want to take that out of the picture. What the problem is if the hope that you're using, especially for the lottery, now makes you paralyzed, because you're now thinking that you can't do anything because your expectations then are unrealistic. Like, my wife hopes that we'll win the lottery so I can get a fancy car or pay for the house to be upgraded, or you kind of go, well, actually, I've got a 1 in 14 million chance of that actually happening. Maybe I should be putting my hope into something else. And the other thing is that you mentioned a few words there, and they've got a few synonyms for hope. One is aim. You aim for something, aspiration, your desire for something. The dream word is in there, but it also says end. So there's an end point that you're hoping for. And then there's enterprise goal. The goal is that I hope we'll win this and score more goals. And then they've come back to the idea of hope. But they're talking about an end point. Where do you hope to be? What do you hope to do? And they're all action words that you need to take. You can't just say, well, I hope for this, and then sit back and do nothing. You've actually got to put into action something that will allow that hope to be achieved, to make that dream a reality in becoming something that you can see and do. And I think that's something that we're doing. There was a little thing that I think popped up on both of our streams that indicated that you sometimes need to start things before you're ready. It's actually jump in, do something, take an action. At least by taking that action, if it doesn't quite work out and it's a small action, then you can actually adjust and make changes to what you're doing so you can take the right actions. It's about experimenting and discovering. And I think in our world that we live in today, so many people have taken away the experimentation, that try it and see what happens. Let's go based on that. What's the experience we've had by taking this action as opposed to that action, and what results do we get? And then we can weigh it up and do critical analysis. And most people, when you use the word critical analysis, are starting to think that's something highfalutin. We can't do that. And you kind of go, you have to do that, but we need to make it simple. So you realize that you're just weighing up one thing against the other. And really, we've got to strive for something that gives us hope. That's what life's actually all about.
No, it's back to the language. If you use the business language, businesses don't go into business and hope it works. They're going in the language, as you said, of objectives, goals, business plans, targets, activities, tasks. They're saying if we do this, back to you said critical analysis, critical path analysis. It's we're doing this in this order, hoping with the aim of getting this result and the goal based on trying to achieve this goal under this strategy heading. So you have a goal, you're aiming, as you said, we're aiming to get an audience of listeners on our podcast. So we'd like 1,000 listeners. Now we're hoping to get them if we just leave it there to its own devices. Now we're saying, what's the strategy to get this 1,000 listeners? Well, we're producing good content on a regular basis, and we aim to make it entertaining and educational and informing. So that's there. Now, what's that? That's saying if we're there, this will be a good experience, and they will act a certain way as a result of interacting with it. It doesn't mean that doesn't find them and doesn't attract them. So we were just chucking stuff out on YouTube and putting it up there and hoping the YouTube algorithm delivers us 1 million followers and subscribers, and it's just going to do its thing. It's going to make us famous. It's going to turn us into influencers because we put it there and it's going to do the job for us. We're hoping it works. But we know in reality, it's the lottery again. It's not, there's 1 billion people doing the same thing, and they're packaging it and they're SEOing it and they're pushing it and they're pulling it, and they have these other strategies they're enforcing or acting out. So it's this action again. So in our personal life or in our business life, it's the same. It's a slightly different language with the same meanings. Our aspirations and dreams of the business of ourselves, of hoping it happens versus influencing it to have a more likely result. And keep it targeted and know what it is we're trying to achieve, why and with who and what for. So some people want to live in a cottage in the country, others want to live in a castle in the Bourdain or wherever the hell it's called. You've got to be doing different things in the absence of winning the lottery to achieve these ends. And the minimum is, I'm happy as a pig in shit watching the grass grow and reading my book. And others are stir-crazy entrepreneurs driven, demented by the fact they're not constantly in action, doing multiple things that can lead to multiple results. So it's down to your personalities, and you could be bipolar, like in terms of the people you're dealing with. Some are happy to do the work, some are happy to have the job. Others are happy to create the job and create the hope value.
Yeah, there is another thing that it says here about what is the power of hope, and it says that hope is the belief that circumstances will get better. It's not a wish for things to get better. It's the actual belief, the knowledge that things will get better, no matter how big or small. And I think that's something that we're starting to work on, not just a belief or rather a hope, a fantasy. We're using our experiences of how we've done things in the past. And then because we're collaborating, we're now joining those experiences together to try and work out processes and procedures that we can then use to make this action happen, that it gives the results that we expect. And so we're trying to experiment with, we hope that we will get doing what the algorithm wants us to do, but we have to first understand what the algorithm is trying to do, how it works, so that we can engage with it in a better, more meaningful way, so that what the outcomes are more realistic. And that's why we're concentrating on at the moment LinkedIn. We have a little bit going on in YouTube, but until we know that we've got the process working with the LinkedIn, we're not putting all our energies into YouTube. We are still doing stuff in YouTube, the minimum that we think we need to at the moment, just to try and attract things and keep that momentum going, keep that consistency going, so that every 2 to 3 days we have a video going out. It's twice a week, Tuesday and Friday, hopefully, if all goes well and we don't have problems. So that's the thing that we're doing. But again, it's also trying to make sure that our hope is realistic, that we're not overdoing it that we end up then destroying another part of our lives. It's getting that balance right, which I think we've mentioned before, because I know that with the work that we're doing, we can become overwhelmed by it and then end up stopping, not because we want to stop, but because we're being forced to stop through ill health or something else, because we've not got that balance right. So we still have to be realistic in what we're trying to do. And I think that's something that we're, especially at this stage of the game, being forced to evaluate. How realistic are these expectations? What can we do, and what is enough to do that we still get that balance between our family, our health, and the work that we're trying to do to get things going in the future, and also setting those future dates so that they're realistic as well. What about projects that you've worked on? How have you developed those so that the expectations are realistic, and how have other people approached that?
I don't like any of that. That's a different language of the past. It's dead and gone. And it's, if I thought back on, it's like you said, you had your role. Most of the time I had my role in a big machine, and I knew what I could deliver. And most of the time, they didn't know what they wanted or needed themselves anyway, and they were the captains of the ship, and lots of moving parts. And they had the people in the steam room and on the Titanic, and the deckhands, and they're moving chairs around on the deck on the Titanic. And I'm just there, serving drinks. You're going, I can keep serving drinks till the drinks run out, but I can't serve more drinks than it's in the bar, and I can't invent ones that aren't there. So therefore, and now there's the whole value. I'm doing a great job in the cocktail bar on the Titanic, and I'm delivering the best experience that can be delivered as they move the deck chairs and the band plays on. But what's happening is the ship is still on course for the iceberg, and we keep on playing on. Am I on I see the iceberg in the distance. Am I sort of shimmying over towards the exit door and the nearest lifeboat, grabbing children and little old ladies and bringing them with me, hoping to be first in the queue? Or am I going to keep on serving drinks till closing time? It's till we all sing the last fandango or wherever the hell it is. You're going, no. It's not an answer to your question. The thing here is,
actually, it is
back to hope.
It is actually, because what
I'm not slipping on my seat, but it's back to the language of. I'm going to stop using the word hope, because it really is the language of. This year we were using. Our last show was obituaries. Write your obituary now and live your life backwards with the end in mind. What does it look like? Are your actions of today going to lead to that story? That story, if you leave it to reaction, is going to be filled in by someone else after the fact, based on a summary of the parts of what you did. But at this point in time, if you want to be a rock star, you better start singing and dancing and get the hair. It is no point. It's not going to just materialize. You've got to do something about it. And I want to be a rock star with George, but the rock star of today might be in the podcast space. We touched on a conversation yesterday that says, we're going to write the book, make the film, and sell the t-shirt. Of what? Of the story of us, of our obituary, retro built. This is our journey, this is our song, this is us, heroes roar. This is you, same thing. Are you happy being a carrot farmer, or do you want to be the pilot on Tesla's or Elon Musk's next ship to Mars? It's these, what are you doing about it? Are you on track? Are you just hoping and doing Bob Hope with a three-legged horse in a race to nowhere? Is no point. Get on the road to somewhere. Know what's at the end of the yellow brick road. Have your questions for the wizard. What are you asking for? What does it look like? And where are you living in the Emerald City? Is it in the penthouse, or is it in the slums?
Now, one of the things that was interesting, because I said that what you did actually answer the question, which I think was quite interesting, because one of the reasons why
it's a rare occasion.
Well, one of the reasons why I think it was actually quite good is that in the illustration of the Titanic, and you handing out the drinks, and I know that in jobs that I was in, I felt as though I was on the Titanic as well. And I got frustrated when everybody kind of kept telling me to remember what my position was. My position was just to keep selling the drinks. And I'm kind of going, but I have other information that's here that is valuable, especially if I can see the iceberg. And it's within my duty to say that the iceberg is going to hit us. Now, the biggest problem was that quite often people said, that's not your job. Stay within your price range or your wage check or whatever, and just do as you're told. And I'm not one of those people that does as I'm told. I like to find solutions to problems. I like to...
You wear your...
Yeah.
Excuse me. You wear your heart on your sleeve.
Absolutely.
You're not beating around the bush. The facts are the facts. There's no point in dressing them up and hiding them.
And I think the important thing is that when you do realize that you've got... You see an end point that you want to try and get to, when you get that same kind of agitation and anxiety when you find that you're going off track or the track is leading you in the wrong direction, and they've changed the signal points and taken you down this way, and you know that you've got to go that way, and you'll do anything and everything you can to get from this place here. Others will say, no, it's not possible. We're going down this way. That's gone. You can't get that way unless you go back. And you kind of go, I can see my goal. I am going to go for it. And if you're telling me I can't, I'm going to prove you wrong and jump off and find another way to get there. Even if it means swimming through all those piranhas, hopefully not. But you know what I mean? We will find a way to get to that goal. We know what the end point is. And people may throw obstacles in the way to try and stop us and trip us up and physically hold us back. But we're so bloody minded that we will get there in the end. Because that's our end goal. That's what we're hoping for.
Yeah. Hopefully I'll cut out the coughing going on over here.
No, we're not going to be in coffins yet. We're not. The coughing is.
Yeah,
we're not writing the obituary just yet.
Slip of the tongue.
No. We know what was going to be there. We want to make sure that obituary is going to be good.
I know. I'm back to the ice. I'm not going in a coffin. I'm not going to be put in. Well, I'm hoping I have that effect, that they freeze me, cryogenically freeze me, and they shoot me off into space on Elon Musk's rocket, and they can revive me at a later date and clone me, and I'll just come back and switch on Garvin 2.0. But I come back to the ice for a second. I was thinking of the ice on the Titanic and the bartender. And if I'm the bartender, I'm looking out the window and going, I'm running out of whiskey. I'm not running out of ice. I can see I've got plenty in store. But as you said, forget that. It's, do we follow the path that others have set for us, or we're getting the first exit out of here? We're going, this is your path, not our path. We don't need to go down with a sinking ship. In a Hornby Railway of yesteryear, you had the circular track. You just said, take the track bits up and make them into S shapes and see where they can go. They can go under the sofa. They can go out the kitchen door. That train can now go 4x4. It can be, it'll go a little bit further. It won't be a circle around and round. Here we go. It's going to go on an adventure. It might crash 3.5 foot away beside the dog and cat's bed, but it's going to have done something it shouldn't have done based on the rules of how the tracks were built. It's our role and our job to give the Hornby Circular Rail train a hope value of going somewhere different than expected. And that's what I'm hoping for. I don't want to go round and round in circles anymore. I want to go get a 4x4. I want to go off track. Based on what our 52 Jokers Wild concept is those cards are gone. We've thrown them back into the deck. We've dealt ourselves new ones. And we're going to see if we can play a different hand. We're playing it. We're saying it's podcasting space. Write a book, do the script, make the film. We can do all of the above based on our actions and activities and our relationships. And we're looking forward. We're not hoping. We're looking forward to those new relationships, those people, those friends we're about to make, those relationships we're about to have. That's going to lead to the new Bob Hopes, not the no hopes.
Yeah, and I think there's another thing that's quite interesting. Hope in this sense is the assurance that things that we hope for, the convictions of things not seen, will actually happen, and that we believe that the reality of those things. by hoping in certain things, we then envision what we think that thing is going to be, and we make it become a reality. It's no longer a figment of our imagination. We are looking for each way to build the blocks to make sure that it actually becomes a reality, and that we actually see that vision that we had in the very beginning. We see it as an actual physical thing that we can interact with in some form or fashion. And that's...
Well, we don't have to see it. Well, again, the weird thing is you're saying we can see it. The seeing it, we see it after. We have to be able to visualize it and then manifest it. So we can now see it and touch it more that others can see it, or see others can see our vision. So the vision. See our vision is a little bit of a weird saying. It's
funny.
Yes, I can believe it.
Yeah, it's like if we're when you're an artist and you've got a canvas that's white in front of you, or even a writer and you've got a piece of paper in front of you, you've got a white sheet. Actually, I heard a story once where somebody was in Russia and they found a whole load of printing paper. And they'd got all these books they were trying to hand out to people, and everybody weren't worried about that. But when they saw the blank papers, everybody was kind of going, "Oh, blank pages!" And they're kind of going, "Why are you worried about the blank pages? There's nothing on it." It's not that. It's what could be on them. It's people could put ideas on there, and they could go off in directions that they're not meant to go.
You nearly had me down the garden path there of the story. I was filling in the blanks of the story you were telling, thinking it was a different story. And I had immediately gone to, you were saying, what could be on this paper? And I said, it's currency paper. Money could be on this paper. This paper was rolls of currency paper. We can print money. Now that analogy is, what business or what lifestyle do you want to get into that would effectively lead to printing money for you? And that's what these influencers are. Forget the influencers. It's people that can write songs or books, and you can sell services, software as a service. You build it once and you win a million times because it can keep on being bought without ever have to be built again. That song can continuously be consumed forever. That movie can be Seinfeld, a case in point. 30 years of it, and it keeps on giving. It keeps on giving back because it's ageless. The humor is ageless. People can associate with it. If you were to sum up that quite quickly, we have an hour. We have the most valuable thing that any of us have is our hour of time, our minute of time, our moment of time, and what we're doing in it. So there's different wealths and different values of how we're spending it. Are we investing it or are we spending it? But are we enjoying it? So we could be spending it with a sick relative. We could be spending it with the children and the family. We could be on a holiday and engaging in an activity, skiing, but ultimately, it's gone. Now it can create memories. So the skiing memory, the family interaction memory of good times, of time well spent. Now the time on the other scale of, I want more of that and be able to do more of that. Can I get a higher value of this hour than the hour is normally worth by doing something highly creative in it that can lead to multiple earnings in the future that then will pay for hours we don't have to spend? That it gives us this time back continuously. And that's the wealth factor of the monetary factor is, I have a nephew that wrote songs and he's 10 years at it, but now he's being bidded for by multiple record companies, and because he was able to get great exposure on TikTok in this lockdown. But ultimately, his time of the past was well spent because he has his back catalogue of his value, which is now being sold into the future ad infinitum and will keep on paying for past events. And I find that very, very exciting. That's why I wanted to move from being an accountant, colouring in and moving numbers around to solve a problem of the moment for a particular company that didn't really have a value beyond that time. Now we're saying your time is you, capture this time. Was a conversation well spent? A conversation well had would have been of interest to someone else. Is it entertaining? Is it educational? Is it informing? Did we capture it? And that's what we're doing now, where I have a hope value, and I think George might have too, that I hope someone else gets the value of these conversations to be affirmations to them to better spend their time on themselves, their family, their friends, on what they're doing to reap the rewards they hope for.
Yep. And that was well worth spending, because one of my cards just got filled up and I had to replace it with another one. So while Garvin was talking, I used that valuable time to...
I was looking there, where is he gone? I'm running out of breath. He better get back.
Well, I was hoping we'd get to the end of the show before that would run out. In fact, it shouldn't have run out, because I reformatted it as well. It's like you reformatted your one. That's a bit strange. I'm going to have to find out what's going on
Well, it's
there.
back to hope. We hope things work as expected.
Yes.
They don't always. Don't want to end on doom and gloom. We had a conversation yesterday where some of us are living, we don't know the unknowns, and we're thinking things are hunky-dory and life is great. And a conversation myself and George had another colleague yesterday mentioned the end of the world might, not the end of the world, but if we don't do don't do something about climate change, then my daughter, when she's a grandmother, a certain place is going to be a desert that currently is a lovely village or town. I don't know. George might remember the particular place.
It was Dresden, would you believe? Dresden.
All right, not a village. But I'm saying,
yeah,
this could be a desert. And I'm going. Before I was like 70 years from now, she's going to be 82. I'm gone. Or maybe I've got a bit of nanotech and I'm still there. But either which way, I want my future generations to live on a green planet and have future hope. So now I'm becoming mindful of something I wasn't thinking about before, that I want to influence the change of now that will lead to a better hope of tomorrow.
And I think that's one of the things that is really good about what you've just now said is, and it was something I was thinking about through what you said earlier on, was that we have a hope for a particular thing, and we work towards it, and then we achieve it. Then that becomes the end of that chapter. And as we go on that journey, we grow, and our hopes go on to something else. And then we move and focus onto that. It's not that we haven't finished the one thing and gone on to something else. We have. We finished that first thing, but that's led us into thinking in other ways, new creative ways, new growth ways that allows us then to go on to create a new hope, another objective that we want to achieve. And by doing that, it keep the small, if the hopes are smallish in little blocks, we can end up achieving quite a lot of things that we can leave behind. And I think that's true. One of the things that we've got to do is to leave. I mean, I've got grandchildren now, and if your daughter, when she's 80, my children are going to be close to sort of maybe 90 at that point. The grandchildren, not 90, 70. They're going to be not far off where I am now. I'm not there anywhere now. Mate, let's say 60. Got it all wrong. But the thing is that if in that short period of time that has gone past, you still feel quite young in your sort of mid to late 50s. There's still lots that you want to achieve. There's still lots that you want to see and do and hope for. So you've got to make sure that that becomes a reality. And that's what we're actually planning for. So hope allows you to move towards planning for something and then taking certain actions to make sure that that planning becomes a reality. So it's going through that kind of cycle to make sure that you achieve what you hope for. It's the same with a degree. If you want to go and study, you hope that you'll get a degree and you work towards it, and by a certain period of time you've achieved it. Then your next hope is to go on to do something else, and you want to achieve that as well, and keep having these signposts or objectives that you achieve that gives you a sense of through your life you've actually achieved these different ends. And it wasn't just a rotating circle that Garvin talked about, like we had with the train going round and round and round. And it may have done the same cycle 5,000 times, but it's never actually achieved anything. So you've got to make sure that what you're doing on that journey achieves something, and that you're not just on a roundabout all the time. I think we're near the end of the show.
I'll finish up. I don't know if it's finish up time.
It is finish up time.
Finish and go, it's less no hope, more Bob Hope.
Yes.
And if you don't know who Bob Hope is, go off and
we hope
Google
you'll go
him.
Find out.
Have a bit of good fun.
Bye for now.
Take care. All the best.
Do what it says on the tin. Follow and share.